There's a wound you carry that has no scar, a void you feel but can't explain, a hunger that food can't satisfy, a loneliness that company can't cure. You've achieved everything you set out to accomplish. You have relationships, success, a life that looks perfect from the outside, but inside, there's an emptiness that whispers, something is fundamentally wrong with me. Carl Jung spent decades studying this phenomenon in his patients. He called it the mother complex. But in the shadows of depth psychology, there's a more haunting name, the mother wound. And here's what makes this so dangerous. It operates completely below your conscious awareness. You don't know you have it. You just know that love feels terrifying, that success feels hollow, that you're constantly running from something you can't name. If you recognize even one of these five signs, everything about your relationships, your self-worth, and your emotional life is about to make sense. Before we dive into the five signs, we need to understand what Jung actually discovered. And this isn't what most psychology channels will tell you. Jung didn't just talk about your personal mother. He identified something deeper, the mother archetype, a universal inherited pattern that exists in every human psyche. This archetype has two faces. On one side, she's the source of all life, warmth, nourishment, and unconditional love, the safe harbor, the eternal embrace. But on the other side, Jung called her the devouring mother, possessive, overwhelming, suffocating. She doesn't just give life, she consumes it. Here's what makes this terrifying. Even if your mother was physically present, emotionally available, and did her best, you can still develop a mother wound. Because the wound isn't just about what she did, it's about what you absorbed. It's about the emotional gaps, the unspoken tensions, the inherited trauma she carried from her mother. The mother wound is a primal rupture, a disconnect from the source of safety, worthiness, and belonging. And it operates entirely from your unconscious, puppeteering your adult life in ways you don't even realize. Let's see if you're carrying it. The first and most devastating sign of a mother wound. You don't feel fundamentally safe in the world. Not physically unsafe, but existentially unsafe. There's a constant background hum of anxiety, a vague sense that something terrible is about to happen, that the other shoe is always about to drop. You can't truly relax. Even in moments that should feel peaceful, a quiet evening at home, a vacation, time with loved ones, there's a tension in your chest, a vigilance you can't turn off. You scan for threats that don't exist. You prepare for disasters that never come. It's exhausting. Maybe you recognize this. You're lying in bed at night, replaying conversations from the day, analyzing every interaction for signs that someone is upset with you. Or you're at a party, but you can't be fully present because you're monitoring everyone's emotional temperature, making sure everyone is okay, managing the room's energy. This isn't anxiety as a diagnosis. This is a nervous system that never learned safety. Here's why this happens. According to Jung, the mother is your first experience of the world. She's the bridge between your inner psyche and external reality. When that bridge is unstable, when she was emotionally absent, inconsistent, anxious herself, or overwhelming, you internalize the message. The world is not safe. My needs are too much. I am alone. And here's what people don't understand. Your mother didn't have to be abusive. She could have been physically present, provided for you, even loved you. But if she couldn't regulate her own emotions, if she used you as her emotional support, if she made you responsible for her happiness, you learn that the world is unpredictable and your existence is conditional. And you carry this into adulthood. You become hyper-independent because asking for help feels dangerous. You overfunction in relationships because you learned love means you taking care of them, not the other way around. You might be the friend everyone calls in a crisis, but you never call anyone when you're struggling. You might be the partner who notices everything, anticipates every need, but falls apart when someone tries to care for you. You might notice you sabotage moments of peace. When things are going well, you unconsciously create drama or find something to worry about. Because calm doesn't feel familiar, chaos does. Your nervous system is literally addicted to stress because that's the only state it knows as home. And the saddest part? You think this hypervigilance is keeping you safe, but really, it's just keeping you trapped. Here's the cruel irony of the mother wound. The thing you want most, love, connection, intimacy, is the thing that terrifies you. Jung observed something fascinating in his patients with mother complexes. They unconsciously recreate the emotional dynamics of their childhood relationships, not because they're self sabotaging, but because their unconscious is trying to resolve an old wound. If your mother's love was conditional, based on your achievements, your behavior, your emotional availability to her, then healthy unconditional love feels wrong. It feels boring, suspicious, even suffocating. Let me paint you a picture. You meet someone who's genuinely interested in you. They text back consistently. They make plans and keep them. They ask about your day and actually listen. They're emotionally available, stable, secure. And what do you feel? Nothing. Or worse, dread. Your body screams, this person is too available. Something must be wrong with them. This can't be real. So what do? You sabotage. You pick partners who are emotionally unavailable, critical, or inconsistent because that feels like home. That's the love language you learned. The push-pull, the uncertainty, the constant effort to prove you're worthy. That spike of dopamine when they finally give you attention after withdrawing. That's not love. That's trauma bonding. But your nervous system can't tell the difference. Jung called this the repetition compulsion. We unconsciously return to the scene of the crime, hoping this time we'll get it right. This time we'll finally earn the love we never received. This time, we'll be enough. But here's the devastating truth. You can't heal an old wound with a new person. Think about your relationship history. Do you notice patterns? Partners who are emotionally distant? Relationships where you're constantly proving your worth? A tendency to chase people who are uncertain about you? Or the opposite? You commit quickly, merge completely, and lose yourself in the relationship? Both are signs of the mother wound. If your mother was enmeshed with you, overly involved, living through you, making your emotions her responsibility, you never learned where you end and another person begins. So, in relationships, you either become a chameleon, morphing into whatever your partner needs, or you choose partners you can fix, save, or change, just like you tried to do with your mother. And when someone offers you healthy love, consistent, stable, genuinely caring, your nervous system screams, this is wrong. This is dangerous. Run. Because safety doesn't feel safe when you learn love means anxiety. You learn that love means walking on eggshells. That love means managing someone else's emotions. That love means abandoning yourself to keep someone else happy. So when someone shows up as their full, authentic self and invites you to do the same, it feels foreign, threatening, like a trap, and you run. Not because you don't want love, but because your mother wound has convinced you that you don't deserve it. This one is subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. If you have a mother wound, you unconsciously project the good mother archetype onto everyone in your life. And I mean everyone. Your boss becomes the parent you're trying to impress. Your romantic partner becomes the caretaker you desperately need. Your friends become emotional surrogates responsible for validating your existence. Even your therapist becomes the good mother you're searching for. Here's what this looks like in real life. You stay late at work, not because the project requires it, but because you need your boss to see you as valuable. A neutral email from them sends you spiraling. What did I do wrong? Are they disappointed in me? You overwork yourself to exhaustion seeking approval. You people please until you resent everyone. You give and give and give, hoping someone will finally mother you back. And here's the trap within the trap. When someone actually tries to care for you, you can't receive it because the wound isn't about them. You're not actually looking for external validation. You're looking for the internal mother you never had. Jung taught that what we don't integrate, we project. The unmet need for maternal love doesn't disappear. It gets outsourced. Let's talk about friendships. If you have a mother wound, your friendships probably follow a pattern. You're the therapist friend, the one everyone calls at 2 a.m., the one who drops everything to help, the one who gives advice, holds space, carries everyone's emotional weight. But when you're struggling, you isolate. You don't burden anyone with your problems, because asking for help feels like admitting you're fundamentally broken. Or maybe you're the opposite. You cycle through friendships quickly. You idealize someone, become intensely close, then feel suffocated and pull away. The relationship goes from 100 to 0 overnight. Both are the mother wound in action. And here's the trap. No amount of external validation will fill the void. Because the wound isn't about them. It's about the internalized absence of the mother you needed. Someone tells you you're beautiful, you deflect. Oh, it's just the lighting. You accomplish something incredible, you minimize it. Anyone could have done it. You receive genuine care, you feel like a burden. I'm sorry for being so needy. Why? Because you learned that your needs were too much, that seeking comfort meant being weak, that emotional hunger was shameful. You become what Jung called the eternal caretaker, endlessly giving to others what you never received yourself. And you wonder why you feel so empty, so depleted, so used. Here's the truth. You're not actually being generous. You're trying to earn the love you believe you don't deserve. You're trying to make yourself so indispensable that no one will ever leave you. Because abandonment is the primal fear underneath the mother wound, and you'll sacrifice yourself completely to avoid feeling it again. But you can't give from a full cup when your cup was never filled. This sign shows up differently in men and women, but it's equally destructive. For women, if your mother wound is active, your relationship with your own femininity is complicated. Jung identified 3 primary manifestations in daughters. The first, you become hyperfeminine, overly identified with the maternal role. Your worth is tied entirely to caregiving, relationships, or motherhood. You have no sense of self outside of serving others. The second, you reject femininity entirely. Jung wrote about daughters whose motto was anything but mother. You pride yourself on being logical, independent, emotionally detached. You excel in masculine domains, career, intellect, achievement, while your emotional life remains barren. You might despise traditional women. You might have unconscious contempt for vulnerability, emotional expression, or anything that reminds you of your mother's weakness. The third type, Your eros, your capacity for relationship and feeling, becomes overdeveloped, but in an unhealthy way. You fall into what Jung called an unconscious incestuous relationship with the father. This isn't literal. It means you seek male validation compulsively, define yourself through men's desire, and compete with other women for attention. Your worth is entirely external. For men, the mother wound manifests differently, but just as destructively. Jung described Don Juanism, an unconscious pattern where a man seeks his mother in every woman he meets. He's constantly pursuing, conquering, then abandoning relationships, because no woman can fulfill the archetypal mother void. Or the opposite, he becomes excessively dependent, seeking a partner to mother him. His romantic relationships feel more like parent-child dynamics. In both cases, male or female, you're disconnected from your authentic gender expression. You're either over-identified with it or rejecting it entirely, and this split keeps you fragmented, never whole. The final sign is perhaps the most insidious. Deep down, you don't feel like you have a right to exist. Not suicidal, but like you're constantly apologizing for taking up space. Like you're an imposter in your own life. And eventually, everyone will realize you're not supposed to be here. This is what Jung called the core of the mother complex, a fundamental disturbance in your sense of being. See, the mother represents your first mirror. She reflects back to you that you are real, that you matter, that your existence is valuable. When that mirroring is distorted or absent, you internalize, I am fundamentally wrong. Something about me is shameful. I must constantly prove I deserve to be alive. So you achieve, you accomplish, you become successful by every external measure. But inside, there's a voice whispering, if they really knew you, they'd see you're nothing. This is textbook imposter syndrome. But it's not just about your career, it's about your very selfhood. You feel like you're on the outside looking in, even when you're surrounded by people who love you. You can't fully receive love, success, or joy because some part of you believes you're fundamentally unworthy of it. And the cruelest part? You work twice as hard to compensate. You become hyper-competent, over-responsible, the person everyone relies on. But inside, you're still that child wondering, am I enough? Do I deserve to be here? So if you recognize yourself in these signs, here's what you need to know. The mother wound can heal, but not the way you think. Jung taught that healing doesn't come from blaming your mother, understanding intellectually what happened, or cutting her off. It doesn't come from positive affirmations or surface-level self-care. Healing comes from integration, and that's a process most people completely misunderstand. First, you must separate the archetype from the person. Your personal mother is a human being with her own wounds, limitations, and traumas. She was shaped by her mother. Who was shaped by her mother? The mother wound isn't about her failures, it's about your relationship with the archetypal mother within you. This is crucial. You're not trying to forgive her, you're not trying to understand her. You're trying to stop carrying her story as your identity. Jung wrote extensively about this. He said the mother complex can exist even if your mother was perfect, because what you're really dealing with is your psyche's relationship to the archetype of nurturing, safety, and belonging. Think of it this way. Your personal mother activated the archetype, but the archetype is bigger than her. It's the great mother, the source of all life, all creativity, all possibility. and you have access to that, regardless of who your mother was. Jung's revolutionary insight: the good mother you're searching for externally, she must be developed internally. You must become your own mother. This isn't affirmations. This isn't bubble baths and face masks. This is deep shadow work. It's learning to meet your own emotional needs without shame. Speak to yourself with the compassion you never received. Set boundaries without guilt, even with people you love. Validate your own existence without external approval. Hold yourself through discomfort instead of abandoning yourself. Here's what this looks like practically. When you're triggered, when that familiar feeling of I'm too much or I'm not enough rises up, instead of pushing it down, you pause. You literally place your hand on your heart and say, I see you, I'm here, you're safe. You learn to recognize when you're operating from the wound, when you're people-pleasing, when you're over-functioning, when you're seeking validation, you catch it. And you ask, what does the child in me need right now? Maybe she needs rest. Maybe she needs to cry. Maybe she needs to say no. Maybe she just needs to be held without having to perform or produce. And you give that to yourself, not from obligation, but from genuine love for the part of you that never got it. This is the part most people skip, and it's why they stay stuck. Most people with mother wounds have rejected parts of their mother in themselves. If your mother was anxious, you swore you'd never be anxious. If she was weak, you became strong. If she was emotional, you became logical. If she was critical, you became overly accommodating. But Jung taught, what you reject in her, you reject in yourself. And those rejected parts live in your shadow, sabotaging you unconsciously. So you find yourself being exactly what you swore you'd never be. You have a panic attack and think, I'm becoming my mother. You cry and feel disgusted with yourself. You set a boundary and feel like you're being cruel. Healing means accepting. I am like my mother in some ways. I carry her traits. I might even repeat some of her patterns. And that's okay. I can have her traits without becoming her. I can be emotional without being overwhelming. I can be strong without being closed off. I can be nurturing without losing myself. This is shadow integration. It's making peace with the parts of yourself you've been at war with. Finally, you must grieve. Grieve the mother you needed but didn't get. Grieve the childhood that should have been different. Grieve the unconditional love you deserved. Not to wallow, but to release. Because you can't integrate what you refuse to feel. Jung said grief is the price we pay for love. And you do love your mother, even if she hurt you. You love the mother she could have been. You love the childhood you should have had. Let yourself feel that. Let yourself rage, cry, mourn. Write letters you'll never send. Say the things you could never say. Give voice to the child in you who was never allowed to be angry, sad, or disappointed. This isn't about blaming her. It's about acknowledging your truth. The truth that yes, you were hurt. Yes, you needed more. Yes, it wasn't fair. And then, only then, can you release it. Not forgive and forget, but integrate and transform. Jung also taught a technique called active imagination, dialoguing with the mother complex in your unconscious. You can visualize the wounded child in you and speak to her as the loving mother she needed. This isn't just visualization. This is literally rewiring your nervous system, creating new neural pathways, teaching your body that it's safe to need, safe to feel, safe to exist. It takes time. Jung said healing the mother complex requires time and perseverance. We're talking months, years even. But every small act of self-mothering is a vote for your healing. The mother wound doesn't heal overnight. Jung said it takes time and perseverance. But here's what happens when you do the work. You stop searching for the good mother outside yourself. You stop sabotaging love. You stop apologizing for existing. You become whole, not because the wound disappears, but because you've integrated it into your story. You've alchemized your pain into wisdom, your mother complex into psychological gold. And that's true liberation. If this video resonated, hit subscribe. Your unconscious is trying to tell you something. Don't ignore it. Until next time, do the inner work.